Hello guys, today we will see about what is process and what is a thread, and this is a common interview question we often get, and they will ask what is a process, what is a thread, and what is the difference between process and thread. So in this video we will see about what is the process and the thread. So a process is nothing but an instance of an executable program. So process is nothing but an instance of an executable program. That means whenever we run an executable program, a process will be created. Okay, so an executable program is nothing but it is any program like C or C++, any program. If we compile that program, executable file will be created. So that executable file is nothing but set of instructions that is understandable by CPU. So that is an executable program. So whenever we run that executable program, a process will be created. So, so whenever we execute that executable program, a process will be created. So now what? So when we run the executable, what will happen? A process will be created. What are things will happen in the process? So when a process starts, the instructions will be loaded to the RAM memory. So first step, this will happen, and memory will be created for it inside RAM memory for maintaining the runtime information resources. So as we all know, for any C++ program, the memory will be created like stack, heap, text, and static. These four memory will be created. So the stack will be responsible for storing the function call information. CPL is responsible for storing the dynamic memory allocation, and text memory is responsible for storing the all the instruction information. So that is the memory allocated for process in RAM. Okay, so then the processor will the processor will process the instructions one by one. So it will have continuous many instructions. So the processor will process it one by one. So this as a whole is called the process. Okay, so uh, processors have their own memory space. They don't share memory actually. So that means if we create two processes, both will be allocated to different own memory. Okay, so they won't share the memory. So if two processes are created, they are independent of each other. Each of their each of them each of them have their own memory created. Okay, so they won't share memory. So whenever many processes are running in the computer, so if any one process crashes means there is no issue to other processes because they are independent of each other. We can close that whichever is crashed, we can close that, and other uh, process will run independently. So that's the advantage of processes. And a process will have at least one thread, should have at least one thread, and that one thread is called the main thread. And it can have more than one thread also, but minimum it should have one thread. So let's see what is a thread now. So this is a process. Process is nothing but an instance of an executable program. So whenever we run an executable program, a process will be created. So process is nothing but memory allocated to it and the instructions executing one by one. So that is a process, and they have their own memory. Each process will have their own memory. They don't share memory. They have their own address space, and they will have at least one thread to it. So that is the process. Now let's see what is a thread. A thread is nothing but a thread is the smallest executable execution unit inside a process. So this is the smallest execution unit inside a process. So inside a process we have memory, then process instructions, and the instructions executed, but it will have thread also. So the thread is the execution unit inside the process. So thread is responsible for executing the instructions. So it will have at least one thread, that is main thread. So thread is nothing but the execution unit inside a process. Okay, and this thread is nothing but a set of instructions. It is nothing but set of instructions. So executable program will have a lot full set of instructions, but inside those instructions can be programmed in such a way that these set of instructions can be executed in one thread, and these set of instructions can be executed in another thread. Like that, we can do that. So that is a thread. So thread is nothing but a set of instructions, and it is the smallest execution unit inside the process. And threads can share. It will have shared memory. So threads in the same process will threads in the same process uses the shared memory of its process. So a process for a process, certain memory will be created, and processing thread is inside that process. So these threads, if two or more threads of same process can access the same memory inside the process, but in process it is different. Each process will have their own memory address space, so they don't share memory. But threads of same process uses shared memory. Okay. Then threads thread is often called a lightweight process. Thread is called a lightweight process. Why? Because thread is an execution unit inside a process. So similarly, if you see a process is nothing but memory will be allocated for RAM. So here, if we create a, if we run a thread inside a process also, a separate stack memory will be created for it, which is responsible for maintaining the function flow. So, and it will also create the dynamic memory in heap. So this is also similar to process, but it is very lightweight because it won't have other things like process, other information. It don't have overhead like process. It will have only its instructions and what and its necessary memory. So and the communication between the threads also it is easy because they are in same memory, so they are in same process. So communication also it is communication between threads in same process is easy. So that's why it is called lightweight process. So it is similar to process, and communication between threads in same process is easy. So that's why it is called lightweight process, whereas communication between process is difficult, like it's time consuming. It's time consuming compared to communication between threads. So that's why it is called a lightweight process. So whenever thread is created here, so when two different threads are created, it will have its own, each thread will have its own stack memory created for it to maintain function calls. So these are the differences between thread and process. A thread is nothing but a small execution inside inside process, and process is nothing but an instance created when a executable program is executed. Okay, so process have their own memory space, but thread is share the memory if they are in same process. And communication between the thread is very easy, but here in process it is the communication between process is difficult. So these are the differences between process and thread. Thank you.